Chapter 9, we're going to review managed care and integrated organizations with this week's PowerPoint and chapter. Okay, learning objectives are listed here. They're also listed in your book on page 359. Flipping the page in the book, we're going to get into introduction. Managed care fundamentally change or transform the healthcare in the United States. It is firmly enriched in the U.S. health system now, and the book states there's no signs of it disappearing. The Affordable Care Act did not obliterate managed care; it is still there, and it's not perfect. We'll continue to evolve and make adjustments as we need to. This figure is just a good reflection of worker enrollment. So, what is managed care? The book on page 361 says it's an organized approach to delivering a comprehensive array of healthcare services to a group of enrolled members through efficient management and services needed by members and negotiation of prices for payment arrangements with providers. That's a lot. And it sounds great on paper, it reads well, but in real life it's just a mess, and they're trying to fine tune it. And maybe they'll get there one day, but as soon as they fine tune it, if you will, us as consumers, healthcare consumers, we change, our needs change, prices increase, etc. So I think it will be a constant battle to get it perfect. Okay, so financing. This is an integration of healthcare delivery functions through managed care. Okay, that is on page 362 if you want to review this slide in your book also. Evolution of, oh, well, let's skip right over what I wanted to say about financing. Hang on. Oh, there it is. So, financing premiums are based on negotiated contracts between the employer and the managed care organization. So, this is what all makes up managed care. Insurance is a part of that, delivery. In an ideal scenario, a managed care organization would operate its own hospitals, outpatient clinics, and employ their own physicians. That would be a perfect world. But again, that just doesn't exist. And payments are part of managed care. Risk sharing puts burden on providers to be cost conscious. It sometimes limits the amount of fee for service reimbursement also. And capitation is important just because it refers to the payment of a fixed monthly fee per member and for a healthcare provider. Discounted fees can be arranged. There's a fee schedule. Your book talks about that on page 363. This includes what managed care is. Okay, so let's go back through there. All right, evolution of managed care. The concept of managed care is not new, but it is very complicated. Let me read this real quick. Yes, prepaid group practice was a thing. Accreditation of managed organizations care. Yes, this came about because of complaints and the need. So it is always good to have accreditation and quality assessment in managed care. That is reviewed on your book on page 365. Growth of managed care. Even the PowerPoint says there's flaws, and there was uncontrolled utilization, prices and payment. It has improved though, because remember right now we're talking about the evolution. So we're still talking about, I'm going to say 90s-ish right now. Employers were not happy about rises in premiums. I mean, we never are. Weakened economic position of providers. Again, this was back in late 80s, early 90s is what we're talking about here. Keep going through your book. Efficiencies and inefficiencies are mentioned on page 368. Managed care achieves efficiencies in several ways. You can read there's 1, 2, 3, 4. The complexity of having to deal with numerous plans does not add value to our delivery healthcare system. Again, to be determined, to be continued as far as making it better. Continuing in the book over to page 369, choice restriction. Yes, that's just a big deal. There's just not a great way to make it perfect for everybody. It's going to be different for individuals. Care coordination is important on page 370. We're talking again about gatekeeping and how primary care physicians are gatekeepers to the rest of our health care. This image does a good job too. So primary care right here is gatekeeping. They help us decide if we need to be admitted to a hospital, see a specialist, get a mental health referral, case management, diagnostic tests, etc. Here's another image. It's on page 371 in the book. Cost control and managed care. We could do a class just on this. This is a huge topic, and of course, anytime we have the ability, we should do our best to save money as long as it improves outcomes. We don't want to shortcut anything when it comes to taking care of human beings. Utilization review, prospective utilization review, concurrent and retrospective. That was a good read, easy read on pages 372 to 373. Practice profiling. So this is monitoring physician-specific practice patterns, and this is great. This is kind of a checks and a balance type of thing that we do want in managed care. So HMOs are. Oh, let me back up. The types of managed care organizations are mentioned on the bottom of 374 on the left-hand side of the page. HMOs were very common up until the 1970s, and then we had PPOs come along, and now currently most of our major healthcare plans like United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the others mentioned in the book, that it's a triple option. So they combine the features of the old indemnity type of insurance. They combine features from the HMO and PPO, and the insured has flexibility to choose features when seeking out their health care. So that's nice. The book goes further to explain HMOs, and it talks about staff models, group models, network models, the different models listed there. PPOs are discussed on page 377. Trends in managed healthcare. Let's see where we're at. Make sure I'm not missing anything. This starts on page 379 in the book. The book does a good job summarizing this too. Employment-based health insurance. This is where we are today. That's where most of us get our insurance. Medicaid enrollment is another one, but there's certain qualifications for Medicaid. Not just everybody can get Medicaid, and same thing with Medicare. There are qualifications for that. So if you don't fit in one of these three categories, military also has their option, and then there is that public sector, the Affordable Care Act brought about, and I just lost I was about to say it, but it's an online portal that you order your insurance through, and I cannot think right now what it's called. But these are the trends in managed care right now. Impact on costs, access, and quality. So that is huge. They are all interrelated. Page 380 in the book, and it goes over to 381. I can't say enough about this. Cost containment is a big deal. We've got to do what we can to control the cost of healthcare and limit it. Not limit the outcomes and quality or access, but limit the cost. Access, everybody should have access, equal access, fair access to healthcare. Influence on quality of care, the HMO, non-HMO plans, they need to equal. So we shouldn't be limited depending on what type of health insurance plan we buy as to what our healthcare outcomes should be. We should all receive excellent health care. Okay, so let me keep flipping in the book. Managed care backlash, regulation, and the aftermath. Again, like I mentioned earlier in this lecture, this managed care is just not perfect. So there are some new regulations. There are some aftermaths that they're dealing with. We're still learning from, etc. And the book does a great job at explaining that. Organizational integration. The term integration refers to various strategies that healthcare organizations employ to achieve economies of operation, diversification, and offering new products, gain market share in the United States, etc. Okay, so 384, 385 is where this organization integration is. The book speaks to mergers, acquisitions, alliances, horizontal integration. So an example of a horizontal integration would be like in the area of Wilson, a chain of nursing homes. So, one comes in and they buy out all the nursing homes. They're owned by one managed care or one group, if you will. There's vertical integration. That's in the book also. Let me make sure. So acquisition refers to the purchase of an organization. The merger involves it's a mutual agreement to unify two or more organizations. And an alliance on page 387. These are just good old definitions. Back to the horizontal integration. The main objective of horizontal integration is to control the geographic distribution of a certain type of healthcare service. Vertical link services at different stages in the production process of healthcare. So that's the difference between those two. And I just read that straight from the book on page 388. Management service organizations emerge to supply management expertise, administrative tools, and information technology to physician groups. So that's very important. Physician hospital organizations, there's just a lot of organizations that come from the integration. We're dealing with managed care. And again, your book describes them very well. 388, 389, flipping the page. Highly integrated healthcare systems. Yep, IDS under integrated delivery systems on page 390 is discussed. Accountable care organizations, also on that page. Let me see where, if this is mentioned in the, it's not mentioned in the summary, so I'll mention it with this slide. So on page 392, middle of the page on the left-hand side, the last concern can be addressed through existing antitrust laws. Antitrust policies consist of federal and state laws that prohibit or regulate certain types of business practices. So they just want to make sure that there's not any type of competitive behavior or exclusions happening, any especially discriminations, price-wise, and again, it goes back to the equal access and quality outcomes. And then the summary is on page 392, and that's the last slide also is the summary. Please let me know if you have any questions after listening to this video or lecture and after reading the chapter.